All right, explorers, is yours, Kamil.
Okay. Yeah, I think it might be easier to follow if I share a screen. I think. Yeah, all right. So we want to discuss, this PR. Yeah, maybe makes sense to just give an overview of what's going on, what we want to achieve. Yeah, and feel free to interrupt and ask questions. Sorry, I cannot follow the Meet chat, so just ask questions by your voice if you have any. Yeah. So the change is that I think we kind of agree that we want to introduce in Devnet3 is to kind of have committee aggregation, so that basically we introduce subnets where validators kind of share their attestation. There are many aspects. I don't know, there are many optimizations that we actually can introduce, but yeah, kind of in this PR I wanted to kind of start with something simple, and then we can iteratively kind of upgrade to, I don't know, new topologies, increase number of validators, aggregators, all that stuff. So basically, the changes, I think, on a high level could be summarized in this table. It's kind of, I try to explain like the difference between Devnet2 and Devnet3 in each interval of our 3SF mini slots. So basically, what we have now is in Devnet2 is we want to aggregate basically block proposer collects, kind of aggregates all the signatures that it collected into proof or multiple proofs and put them into the block. And the change that we want to make here in Devnet3 is that someone else kind of already created the proofs. These proofs are pure committee, so that we split the validators into different committees / subnets, so that they can compute their subnet ID by just taking their validator ID and applying modular operation with number of subnets that we kind of put in the in config, and that way, they figure out subnet ID, and so the way it works is during interval 1. This is kind of the first significant changes. Before we kind of had just a single attestation topic, and now, in addition, and this is maybe we can discuss here, like whether we want to keep the old topic or just introduce subnets. So basically, what I propose is, in addition to the attestation topic that we have today, we also introduce attestation topics per subnet, and so that when the validators cast a vote, they kind of publish it to both topics, to the global attestation topic and also to the attestation topic that corresponds to the subnet ID that they kind of belong to. I don't know, is it clear so far? Why we need kind of to have both broadcasts, I mean, to both global attestation topic and into the subnet, is because we have in interval 2 of our 3SF mini, we have to update our safe target. So basically, the block that we'll be voting on, in the next slot. And to do this, validators need to observe kind of supermajority of all signatures, and not only. So if we just split validators into the subnets, they might not get signature. They might not observe the signatures from other subnets. They only observe signatures from their subnet, and that way they do not kind of collect enough signatures to update their safe target, and then 3SF consensus kind of breaks. Well, I think Gajinder left a comment saying that this might not be a big issue because yeah, if we just perform an aggregation so that yeah, we have aggregators. Yeah, that thing I didn't mention yet, but yeah, we kind of have also in every subnet. In Devnet3, we plan to have one aggregator per subnet, which collect the signatures and then create proof. Yeah, and basically in third interval, yeah, I think Gajinder said that yeah, we might actually get, we might use the proofs that were generated to kind of update the safe target. But my consideration is that yeah, we kind of target to have 1,000 validators per subnet, and well, this is our eventual goal, and our kind of expected signature aggregation rate is like 1,000 signatures per second. So in that scenario, we would spend like approximately the whole second just to aggregate, and each hour interval in the consensus, they already kind of a second. So yeah, when we scale with this approach, that I mean, if we do not have the global attestation topic and we only split into subnets and we just count on aggregations on proofs per subnet to kind of update safe target, then we might not be able to kind of do this on time during the interval 3. So yeah, which is why yeah, I kind of was proposing to kind of keep both, at least for now, to keep both a global attestation topic that we have now and also introduce a new per subnet topics. Let me check.
So I just want to talk over here.
Yeah.
What I'm saying is that so to update safe target, I don't think we need the new attestrations, right? So that can happen still in interval 3.
No, we need new attestations. I mean, attestations for the current head, and current head becomes safe target.
Yes, correct. So for the new target, we use the new attestations. That is correct. So why can't we just move that to interval 3 itself, right? So interval 2 will be just aggregation, and then in the interval 3 start, we do update safe target, and then we do accept new attestations. So one after another, right? So I don't think that it is going to change something, right? So it is just the same thing.
Yeah, but it's kind of, then we kind of diverge from the 3SF mini.
No, 3SF mini. So basically what you are trying to do is you update. So using the new votes, you basically find your target and then put all those votes to find all those attestations, new attestations. And this is the sequence we can find. So what I'm saying is that, so basically updating safe target and accepting new attestations get squished in the 4th interval itself, unless we believe that both of them can't be done in the, third interval 3, which is the 4th interval. So it can't be done in one single interval. If we believe that can't be done in one single interval, then okay, we need to have them separate, or we basically need a bigger interval for that matter. But if we think that update safe target and accept new attestations can be called one after another in just one interval, then basically this does not really change. What really has happened is that basically now we have squished these two steps in our single interval, and in the second, basically in the interval 2, we basically have aggregation and that are imported by the peers, and everything is just the same, right? So what we have done is we have squished update safe target and accept new attestations in a single interval. What we need to do for the sake of 3SF mini is that update safe target needs to be called before accepting the new attestations.
Yeah, let's think about it. Like, so what we want to do is, okay, what we're proposing is we have like interval 0, we create block, interval 1, everyone cast their vote into the subnet topics only. And then interval 2, aggregators kind of start aggregating whatever number of signatures they kind of collected, they putting them into the proof. The compute itself might take up to 1 second, depending on the number of signatures they collected, but they their goal of aggregators is aggregate as much signatures as possible to include as many voters as possible. Then
so this compute time, I mean, is sort of independent, basically, to squishing the other two things. So I guess either we will make the interval because if we believe that this compute can't happen, or we will, or basically aggregators will have to have run a specialized machines for that, right?
Well, I think the default assumption is that we do not have like specialized machine that they they run on CPUs, which is why we have this 1,000 signatures per second. Otherwise, if we assume that some could have GPUs, then it would be like 10 times faster.
Yeah, so I think the efficiency is something that will improve, and even if it doesn't improve, and we are at a point where there are specialized aggregators, I don't think that is a bad model, because that is what the aggregators are for, right? That is what the specialized role is for, and people can basically opt in if they think they have the hardware for it. And as a protocol, we just need to make sure that all the subnets are covered and they are sufficient aggregators by properly rewarding them, which we don't do now, but I think eventually you will have to have that thing.
Yeah, Paul?
Yeah, Camille, just want to ask on, like, say if we keep the global attestation topic, like speaking of performance, how much load can we actually take on that global attestation? Because I mean, right now we're doing only like 10 validators ish that are okay, but then at some point, like 100 validators, then wouldn't that also be almost low? So
yeah, this is not the most optimal
maybe-
solution. This is not the most optimal solution, obviously. I mean, having the both topics. I mean, this is why actually I proposed for the subnet, so to make attesting validators to only publish to the topic, so that they are not subscribing to this topic. That saves some bandwidth for them, so that they do not receive the same attestation on both topics.
I think we can have basically two versions of this DevNet. One in which we have this global attestations, because I mean, this we can basically, figure out whether everything is going fine, whether people can aggregate in time, and those can be imported. So basically, we basically run this and make sure that, we are able to do update, safe target, and accept new attestations in the same interval. And even if they are not able to do, people who are listening to the global, they can do update, safe target a bit before. So it can be, I think, so we can have two versions of it, where we have this global attestation publishing, and then in the next version, our aim should be to remove it, because as O said, this is not the optimized version, and this will finally, I think, that is what we are trying to do. We are trying to figure out how to best basically reduce the traffic of the signatures, because they are going to be big.
Yeah, ideally, I don't know, having two versions, I think might be a bit confusing for development teams. But I think if we keep both topics, we can just implement in Devnet3 both global attestations and both global attestation topic and subnet attestation topics, and then maybe next Devnet we can just we can perform once we have this, we can perform the analysis. I mean, check how it scales. I mean, we have the I don't know, at least in clean we can we run it under shadow and simulate networks with different sizes, and then we see where is the bottleneck, where is the issue. I mean, how problematic that is, and then yeah, we might consider to remove global attestation topic. Another thing that we also should kind of keep in mind for future is that for Devnet3, I assume we do not perform recursive aggregation for now. I think on last week, Emil said that recursive aggregation is not ready. Maybe it's different now. But yeah, once we have it, then there is a question like when we perform recursive aggregation. Because if we decide that this recursive aggregation of subnet proofs kind of happens in current slot, not during block production, yeah, we should kind of keep in mind that this also, the expected aggregation rate there is like 10 10 proofs per second. So assuming like and even if our target is to have like 8,000 validators and we kind of have subnet topics, well, we have like 8 subnets, each has 1,000 validators, then we should keep in mind that for global aggregation itself, I mean, for recursive aggregation, we would spend like 0.8 seconds in itself. I mean, and considering that then the result of global aggregation is kind of another proof, which we put into the block size becomes like at least 128 kilobytes. Yeah, it would be hard. I mean, the propagation, yeah, would be a bit, yeah, not the fastest. I mean, the blocks kind of becoming large.
Sorry, I didn't get the issue with global aggregation. I thought it would make the block size smaller, right?
Yeah, the block size would get smaller. I mean, yeah, currently the block size, the blocks are already pretty large. We might put multiple proofs into them. Yeah, ideally, currently Raul's team is working on kind of estimating how we can speed up blocks propagation using the Reg coding, read Solomon, all these techniques. But what I'm saying is that once we introduce recursive aggregation, we would spend 0.8 seconds just for aggregation itself of the proofs from subnets. And if we...
So if basically this recursive aggregation is carried out by the proposer.
Yeah, if it's carried out by proposer, then yeah, we spend this amount of time. But if we decide that, okay, this may be too slow, I mean, we have the first interval just for block propagation, and we spend most of it just for aggregation, then we might decide that, okay, it actually makes sense to kind of make this computation, or make this recursive aggregation during the 4th interval of previous slot. So that, yeah, then yeah, I'm just trying to give you the picture of the aggregation rates of the expected number of signatures that we might have eventually. And yeah, it's and if we kind of postpone, I mean, if we want to kind of make 3rd interval larger for the committee aggregation, then yeah, we might left with a very small amount of time for the recursive aggregation if we decide to make it in the next DevNets in the current slot, not in the next slot by proposer. So that's just something to keep in mind.
When you say 0.8 seconds, so
yeah, at least
how many cores are involved in this, and what is the...
That's on CPU.
Yes, how many CPU cores are? Is it a multi-core or is it a single core operation, and what gigahertz processor, for example?
That's I'm not aware of. Yeah, I just took this number. I think I asked, I don't remember, Emil or Thomas, about like when we were developing our Beam simulator, like what should be our expected aggregation rates. I mean, yeah, if we just if we assume that there might be some super powerful aggregators, then we actually don't even need committees, because if we have like 8,000 validators and we have just one aggregator that runs on GPU and can aggregate instead of 1,000 signatures per second, 10,000 signatures per second, then yeah, we don't even need to split it into the groups. So just some aggregator can perform all the aggregation himself, and yeah. But I think the reason why we're doing all of that is that we don't want to put kind of too kind of strict hardware assumptions. I mean, assumptions about like someone has GPU. Yeah, we kind of should be pessimistic that, yeah, well, in the network, yeah, the nodes are running only in CPUs, or yeah, basically not to rely on too powerful machine. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong with these assumptions, but yeah, that's
in this,
the
I
impression
have
that
a little.
Yeah.
So rejecting this, I have a little bit differing opinion because of the way Ethereum roadmap is going, and it is basically not being so conservative on the hardware. It is basically saying that, okay, what is a good commodity hardware that is available? And for example, if this is just a single core, then obviously you will have a good commodity hardware itself has like, at least 8 cores, right? So you will assume that those cores are available to you. So if that is the case, then basically things just go 1 by 10 there itself, right? So I mean, and the timeline at which we basically are assuming that this hard fork is going to go live is basically either 2027, 28 plus, right? So at that point, hardware will be further ahead, but only with regard to our current next DevNet. Basically, what you are saying definitely makes sense that for our this next DevNet, what is it that we can make?
Yeah, I mean,
So in that sense,
I'm just thinking from perspective of yeah.
So in that sense, if we can have multi-core systems that can bring this time down, I think it might just work, right? Yeah. Oh, what were you saying? Sorry.
Sorry, yeah. So the numbers I saw earlier from the Devnet3 it's 800 signatures per second on M4 on the simple branch, which I assume that's where the Devnet2 is based out of. I'm not so sure though, like if, for example, if we are doing only like 100 signatures, is that going to be like a quarter second to aggregate or not? And if that's actually, if it's like that, if it's like 100 signatures per 0.25 seconds, then I don't see why we couldn't do that on our DevNet now. Because I guess like we're probably going to be scaling up to, I don't know, like what, 10, 20, maybe 100 at most, maybe.
So we have Toma here. Toma, do you have any numbers that you can share with us?
Not better numbers than the one shared by Ho. Emil is working right now full time on this, and I think that he's bringing some nice optimization days after days. So I'm not sure that the benchmarks that are in the README are the most up to date, but that should be around those numbers. Yeah, and indeed, this is the simple, the LinVM simple branch that he worked on right now. But here, like, yeah.
Do you know if it's linear? Like does it take like half a second to do like 400 signatures?
Not sure about this. I think, but not sure.
So with regard to our current next DevNet, I think it is still doable because we are not going to have these many validators in a single subnet, I think.
Yeah, just the question. I mean, if we like, what should be our strategy? Whether we should kind of just kind of assume that we are not going to have more validators than we kind of put into our, I mean, this PM doc, for example, like how many validators we have there.
Our assumption should be, our assumption should be that there will be sufficient, the hardware, there will be sufficient hardware power to take care of basically, whatever is the requirement, right? So committees is a good idea, but apart from that, I think we should assume that, okay, there will be sufficient hardware available, power available, or there will be sufficient optimizations of aggregation that might have happened till the time. So that I think that is a fair assumption, and we can basically, on this assumption, without worrying about what is the limitation for aggregation, we can basically design the protocol in the sense that we already know that committees is a good idea, just because you also would want to limit the signature propagation bandwidth, right? So even if there are super hardwares aggregators, and even then this is a good idea because you would want to limit the bandwidth to a particular subnet, and basically then those can be aggregated further by the validator itself, or if not by the validator, again by some specialized provider who can basically aggregate the subnet itself and can also transmit them.
Yeah, basically, then I don't know. We should decide here, maybe on this call, or think more like whether we should. Yeah, in my PR, I was kind of to take safe approach, so that assuming that nodes are not powerful enough and all of that. I mean, and also assuming that.
So I think Ethereum has come out. So why I'm objecting to this particular thinking is I think Ethereum has come out of that phase where we are trying to basically create the protocol for the lowest rung of hardware that is out there. We are basically not going for that because we want to scale, and we basically have come to terms with the fact that a good hardware and bandwidth, a decent bandwidth, is good to have to basically to run a node. You need some decent hardware and bandwidth for that. So I think we have come out of the phase where we are saying that, okay, we are targeting this for every Raspberry Pi that is out there. So even if we are not making this decision for the protocol, but we can make the decision for this particular DevNet.
Yeah, I'm just having Raspberry Pi Pico here. Anyway, yeah, I mean, that's I don't know, just the question is who decides that, should we target, because like,
so
I was constantly getting a pushback, for example, when we do discussing like grid topology or something like this violates validator privacy, for example, and I accept these things. I mean, that's okay. Here we want validators to be private, and this kind of limits us into what topologies we can have. So yeah, we just need that's just one example, and so we should basically understand those principles. Should we target
right? But privacy is a very different principle from the minimum hardware requirement, right? So
yeah, it's just the main principles. Like, should we target the I don't know, Raspberry Pis or GPU based machines for aggregation?
I'm telling you that we are no more targeting Raspberry Pis because we have already evolved. If you look at there is a current EIP that specifies the minimum hardware requirement. So we are no more targeting Raspberry Pis. I mean, this is an established fact now. There is nothing for us to decide that, we aren't setting any new policies over there. So we already have an EIP that sets the basic hardware. I can share it to you later on. I don't remember the EIP number, but what I am saying is that we have already moved away from this as an Ethereum development community, that we are basically targeting the lowest rung of hardware that is out there.
Maybe like for all of this to be useful for you, Camille, and for like everyone, maybe with all of what we have just said, maybe can you go quickly over the PR just to describe briefly what you have done, so that maybe we can discuss specific points and stuff like this?
Yeah, I just want to kind of start with the main overview.
Yep.
But okay, yeah. Let me get. Maybe it makes sense to kind of discuss this first. I mean, the PR itself, and then get back to some principles. Yeah, the
So coming back to the PR itself, I think what you have proposed is fine for this particular DevNet. That there is a global attestation publishing, as well as there is subnet based publishing, and on the subnet there are aggregators. And but what I'm saying is that next version we should target to remove the global publishing, because bandwidth is much scarce than computation, and again bandwidth it scales much higher as with the more data that is in the network. So in that sense, basically what I'm saying is that we can have two versions. That is what I was meaning by two versions, was that not two concurrent versions. Basically what I'm saying is that, okay, there is Devnet3 which has this, and then in the Devnet4 we should target that. And I'm not sure when the recursive aggregation will be available, and when it's available, basically we will discuss how to include that, right?
Okay, so what you propose, if I summarize, is like to have two versions, one with publishing to different subnets, and one with global publishing like we have right now. And then in DevNet 4, we just remove global publishing to have only publishing towards the different subnets. Is that what you propose?
Yes, that is what I'm saying, that right now what Kamil has proposed over there, we just do that. We
Okay.
have global
both.
publishing of stations, as well as publishing in the subnet. And in the
Okay.
subnet, there is aggregation by the subnet aggregators. And in the next one, basically we remove global
No problem.
publishing, so that basically, yeah.
Okay. Okay. Just a final question, and after, like, you can go through the PRs and stuff. Are you sure, you as a client, me, I don't care because this is in the spec, so just you as a client, is it simpler for you to do this way and maintain these two concurrent version with like the possibility to have global publishing and the possibility to have publishing in the subnets, and maintain that and debug that for the DevNet 3? Or is it simpler for you to just completely remove the global publishing and just have like the subnet publishing directly?
So we can do both. There isn't much of complexity, but if we can just do direct subnet publishing, I would prefer that, unless Kamil wants to.
Yeah.
Then I don't mind. Basically,
in my opinion, from the amount of work required to develop DevNet, I think it's actually easier to keep both topics for now. It's just, we introduce subnet topics. We can even have like the same, how to say, the subscribe method. How we process the messages for two kind of topics. Global attestation and subnet attestation. How we process the attestations is kind of the same function. So it's just for aggregators. Yeah, that's actually, I can describe in the code already. It's just when aggregators receive the attestation, they have some additional logic.
Okay. Yeah.
So I agree to Kamil. So in the current DevNet, that is one good thing that we have done, is that most of the things that happen in the fork choices with the attestation data, it's not with any of the aggregated attestation or with signed attestation. So in that sense, I think what Kamil is saying makes sense, that there isn't going to be much of a change in the client, apart from the fact that, okay, there are two new data pipes that are coming in and we can consume that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please feel free to share the code.
Yeah, on that note, I think, it actually makes sense to just go through the code. Right. So, I think it would be easier for me to navigate here. Just what you can take a look at first to just write these MD files that I updated, networking MD and validator MD. It's just basically kind of describes the discussion that we have here. Plus, I wanted to kind of, I think, yeah, we should start kind of maintaining this networking MD more actively to kind of make it closer to what we have in beacon chain spec. For example, just yeah, I added this table like describing what topics we have for gossip sub, what kind of messages we have there. What we actually also need to have in future DevNets, maybe we can introduce this, is the predicate rules. I do not have it here, but just like what we should work on, I think, in future. Just the rules explaining once we receive the message on gossip subtopic, like what should we do with this? Whether we should accept it and propagate further, whether we should ignore it, or whether we should, I don't know, reject it and maybe reduce the reputation of the peer that sent this. So this kind of rules, I mean, we kind of have some kind of them in fork choice. I mean, like we validate the signature and it's either valid or not, but this also kind of should affect whether we propagate the messages further in the gossip sub or not. That's just, yeah, that's not related to current discussion, but yeah, in future we should have this, I think.
Just a small comment on like the ACMD. Yeah, I agree. Like we should maintain this ACMD, and you had it like nice comments, so that is nice for the reader and for everyone. We should take care of like maintaining a sort of link or like maybe duplicate the documentation between here and the code, because I have seen previously in the spec some bugs where like information are mentioned in the ACMD but are not taken into account in the code. So maybe there, for example, you publish like a new topic name, but this is not reflected into the Python code. Yeah, just a remark.
Yeah.
Please go on.
Mm-hmm.
Also, Kamil, one more thing. Can we also move, calculating safe target and update safe target and importing new attestations one after another in interval 4? I think that is one of the change that we should also include in this one.
So moving update safe target into the interval 4, and what
interval
was the
just before importing new attestations?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we can do this. I would just in case ask consensus guys whether it's okay to do this. Yeah, have a chat with Francesca and
It
others.
is okay because updating
I
safe
assume
target
it is okay. Yeah.
Updating safe target is basically looking at the new attestations. You find the safe target from the just new votes. And since we have not imported that yet, that is just fine. I mean, it is just moving that a bit out. It is not going to change anything. And then once you have calculated the target, basically you find the new head by taking into account all the new attestations. So there is no change, but if we want to confirm, we can confirm.
I mean, do you want to do this? I mean, is it something you think that we should have done before, or you think just because we introduced committees and other stuff, kind of makes it well to kind of now it makes more sense to kind of update safe target in the 4th interval? Just what is the rationale?
Yeah, I think we can just do this, and in the next Wednesday call, we can basically say that this is what we want to do for Devnet3 Spec. We just want to get an okay from the consensus researchers on this.
Okay.
As per my understanding and as per my understanding of the code flow, this isn't going to change anything.
Okay. Yeah, let me just, as I said, like I'll confirm with consensus guys, and then yeah, if they find, yeah, I think there is. I don't see any issue with that. Actually, it's good because then we have more time to propagate all the signatures, and yeah, Okay, nice. So yeah, please take a look at the networking MD and validator MD. Validator MD, just I briefly described that how we assign validators to committees, and also briefly describe the role of aggregators. Currently, we assume that each subnet has a single aggregator for now. I think that's the assumption. And each aggregator, there was a discussion, I think between June, me, and also Gajinder, that whether we should allow aggregators to aggregate in multiple subnets or just single subnets. So I made it more concrete so that for now in Devnet3 we target for every aggregator to aggregate just a single subnet. At least, that's the assumption for now. And the way validators assign basically signal that they are willing to aggregate is, my proposal is to do this via ENR record so that they have this aggregator flag there, and it's Boolean flag. It is set to true for aggregators, and for non-aggregating node, it could be either false or this flag just can be missing, and we just assume that if it's missing, then it is not an aggregator. Yeah.
I mean, I had one question here as well. So what is the use of this particular flag in the ENR? Why do we need this?
Yeah, because how we actually going to, when we have a real network, how are we going to understand that someone is aggregator or not? Like we have peer discovery, and we have very useful, during the peer discovery, we discovered the addresses of the peers in the form of ENR addresses, and ENR has very nice property, I mean, having these key value fields, which I think we can take advantage of. And then,
But most of the times, all of the nodes ENRs are not available unless you include this also in the status messages. And that is the problem, for example, that was in the PLS custody, was that also basically, you have to advertise in both places, because if you have an incoming connection, then you don't have the ENR for that particular node. You only have ENRs for the outgoing nodes that you have the ENRs for. So that is one thing. And why do I need to know that I need to connect with an aggregator if the aggregator is going to connect to that particular subnet itself, right? So
you need to know that you are connecting to aggregator, because that way we can optimize some bandwidth. I mean, we can do publishing, for example, to only aggregators. In future, I think, currently we're just using gossip sub so that we just, publish the message into the subnet topic. And aggregators, they do both publish and subscribe, whereas testers, they only do publish. But this is actually not very safe from the privacy perspective, because aggregators, they kind of see the signature of validator, and they sure that, okay, that way they can actually link the IP address of validator with the signature. And I kind of want to differentiate aggregators and validators roles, I mean, on the ENR record, so that level, so that in future, we might actually come up with some more, there are ideas like, I don't know, introducing some kind of, onion routing, for example, so that we have some relays that actually, so that we're not sending this directly to aggregators, but we're sending this through some relays, so that way we achieve some privacy, although we're introducing some delays. That's just, I mean, knowing via ENR record that someone is aggregator, I think this gives some rooms for future optimizations, so that, on which we can work on, I mean, so that we communicate with aggregators differently in the future.
Got it. So, but in that case, we should also include this field in the status messages, because right now we have ENRs for everyone, but for incoming connections, you won't have the ENR. So you would basically do, at the status handshake itself, you should pass this information.
Okay, agree. Mercy, have a hand raised.
Sorry, good afternoon. I'm sort of trying to get clarification on, okay, what if no validator in a subnet, like they did not opt in to be an aggregator? what happens to this subnet attestation for that slot? Is there like a fallback mechanism, or do those votes simply not count?
Yeah, well, ideally we should not have this situation. I mean, in future, yeah, when we have like 1,000 validators per subnet, I think, yeah, Justin was talking about like 10% of them are aggregators. And yeah, when we have a lot of, I mean, when we have a network, which is very huge, yeah, this situation is going to be like very unlikely that we don't have any aggregators. But for now, what we can do is, yeah, we have like proposer, which observes all the signatures. So the proposer itself can, yeah, I don't remember like if I put this into the spec in this PR, but yeah, one thing we can do is that the proposer basically aggregates all the signatures that were not, that it can observe, but it also sees that there is no proof that that corresponds to this particular signature. That could be
Yeah.
one way to do this.
But
So,
then,
so we
like,
don't need to do anything with that because currently Proposer does the aggregation as well as look into the aggregated things. So what we can do is that in that mechanism, we can change. Right now, Proposer first does the aggregation and then look for the missing validators in already aggregated signatures. But we can just reverse the flow. We can just reverse the sequence that Proposer should first look into the aggregated attestations that it has received, and whatever validators it can't cover for that, it can basically do the aggregation for it by itself. And if this is the flow, then basically what you're saying is already gets covered.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Sorry, Tama, you also wanted to say something?
I think that you answered like the thing agenda, so it's fine.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, sorry, I'm trying. Let me speed up a bit to actually go into the code. Yeah, let me just highlight some functions, the main functions that kind of explain the workflow of the new workflow that we have in Devnet3.
One
yeah.
thing I wanted to add over here was that at some point, basically, if you just to respond to Mercy's point that she raised, that if basically you see that none of your peers, you can't find an aggregator for a particular subnet, you could basically self-promote. So a peer could basically self-promote itself for an aggregator if basically aggregator assignment is not a consensus assignment or hard-coded assignment. So I think this sort of approach will also make sure that at any given point of time, there are sufficient aggregators, because you will see that, okay, of 200 peers you connected and this subnet is not covered. So for the good of your network, you will self-promote.
But now you see like when it actually makes sense to not to assume that the nodes have GPUs and super fancy hardware. And yeah, I mean, in that case, when we assume that they are not powerful enough, in that case, anyone could aggregate basically, so that they can back up just in case when there is no aggregators for whatever reason. Although I assume this is very unlikely in the real network.
Yeah, I mean, there is a beauty in the sense that everyone can do all kind of rules, but I mean, eventually we will not have that point. But I guess for now, with the scope that we have, or we can basically assume the optimizations that will be there, or the hardware improvements that will be there by the time this goes live. We can assume that maybe commodity hardware will be able to support aggregating all the things in the subnet, and in that way, I basically like the subnet idea very much.
Oh yeah, I think that should be like we should have some kind of session in CAMS discussing all these, I don't know, assumptions. Yeah, to be aligned for everyone. Yeah, let me just try to go through the code really quick because it's almost an hour already. Yeah, so where the flow starts kind of, so basically we have, I think we should start with, so the first interval is block production. Yeah, we can go describe this later, but the next interval is when we propagate the signatures, and when we receive the signatures, so we go to on gossip attestation, and there are a few adjustments here made. So basically, yeah, we should be aware of our validator ID so that we can calculate our subnet, and also we kind of should understand whether we are aggregators or not, because yeah, that also affects like how we collect, whether we collect the signatures into the attestations payload or not. Yeah, all this stuff. So on gossip attestation, yeah, we receive an attestation. The flow is basically the same, but yeah, we check the subnet of the validator that sent, well, the subnet of the we checking to which subnet the signature that we received actually corresponds to. Yeah, we compare it with our subnet, and if subnets match and also we are aggregators, yeah, then we collect the signatures into the gossip committee signatures map. Yeah, we will use it then in next interval when we actually perform an aggregation. Yeah. So yeah, here I also had additional logic. Oh yeah, that's actually another topic to discuss. Maybe whether when we actually want to aggregate. My proposal was to basically during interval 2, if we have like 90% of signatures, we perform aggregation. I think Gajendra's proposal was a bit simpler, so that we just aggregate whatever we have, just based on the time. I mean, if it is second interval, and yeah, we just perform an aggregation. I think, well, that's actually simpler. Yeah, maybe we can start with this.
Yeah, I guess that is simpler, like to start with. Yeah.
Okay. Then yeah, I'll remove some stuff like regarding the threshold of the signature that we need to reach before we perform aggregation. Okay, then basically this will become much simpler. So yeah, that's on gossip attestation, and then when interval 3 starts, let's see. What was that? Yeah. Well, the next interval in interval 2 begins. Yeah. In current proposal, yeah, we perform like the usual updating safe target. I think the current thing that we discussed that we might move it into the next interval. But another thing is, yeah, if we are aggregator in this interval, then we also perform aggregate committee signatures. So we're basically performing an aggregation of the signatures that correspond to our committee. And yeah, that's a new function, but it is, yeah, basically what's going on here, we go through the signatures that we collected and yeah, perform an aggregation, yeah, and store the results into the aggregated payloads, as well as we also broadcast. Yeah, there is no kind of broadcasting in the specification right now. I think with maybe the work of that Tama is doing, maybe we can introduce it. But yeah, currently just a comment. But yeah, we produce an aggregation and then we broadcast it into the aggregation topic. One side note, I think the aggregation itself might be happening in parallel threads, so that we are not kind of blocked by the aggregation procedure. But yeah, that's just something to keep in mind by client teams. And yeah, once we aggregated, yeah, we broadcast it into the aggregation topic. Yeah, my proposal was, but I think yeah, I will remove this from after this meeting. But yeah, my proposal was that in next interval, in interval 3, yeah, even if we didn't collect enough signatures that we didn't reach the threshold, we basically aggregate anyway whatever we had, and then yeah, basically perform the same flow. We broadcast the aggregation to everyone. But I think yeah, I'll simplify and remove this. So yeah, to keep it simple for now. And yeah, then there are changes in like produce block with signatures. Basically, yeah, we also produce block with signatures. I think the change is not here, but in the state function, yield block. Yeah, basically here are the changes that we use the collected aggregations to put them into the block. The logic here is very similar to what was implemented in Devnet3. I mean, so that I think the Zim team that implemented this, they kind of even might understand it better. But the logic here is that we try to kind of if some validator is kind of missing the is not covered by the proofs that we have, we try to include the proof from previous slots that actually has that kind of covers the signature from this validator. So basically, we might have proofs from this previous slots in current block just to cover as many validators as possible. That's logic is kind of, we also keep it here. I just renamed it from compute aggregated proofs to select aggregated proof because the compute actually happens by aggregators, not by the validate, not by proposer here. And that's on high level, like what's going on. I mean, just the main functions that you should probably take a look at. What remained here is, we should fix the tests. I'm trying to work on this. Just take all the feedback that I received during this meeting. So consider moving safe target, simplifying the logic from maybe removing this signature threshold that we need.
Also, like, don't hesitate if you want to merge that into multiple PRs. For example, if you want to merge the first one with, this is as you prefer. If you prefer merging everything in single one, this is okay. But if, for example, you want like a first PR with HackMD, so that like we can comment a bit, even if I think that this is good as is, and then another one, for example, for including like the subnet and stuff, as you prefer. But
actually, good idea. Maybe the markdowns could be merged first, so that everyone is aligned on what's expected to be in Devnet3. Okay. I think that's pretty much it. So any other things to consider or ideas or anything that anyone wants to discuss?
So I think with regard to Devnet3, we are mostly in sync, and this is something that we can target. And then in the next version, we can try to remove the global publishing. So let's go for it.
There is a question from Mercy, like, can we extend interval 2? Do you mean extend it so that we have more time for signatures to arrive to everyone, so that we can update safe target with more signatures?
But then this will produce like larger slots, no? Or do you want to reduce another interval?
So I think this is something we can think of later once we have come to a conclusion that we can't actually aggregate whatever we need to aggregate interval to. I think we can leave this for now.
I think Will had his hand first. His hand raised.
Mine's an aside, less about this, but I just wanted to double click on what you mentioned, Camille, about like, hey, this would be a good conversation topic for CAN. I'm really trying to work on programming, so if anyone has thoughts on talks that they would like to see or group discussions that they would like to make sure happen, shout them out now or let me know, preferably before this weekend, because I'm going to be putting a bunch of time into it this weekend.
Okay, my idea was just, we had very long discussion regarding the performance assumption and hardware assumption. So, and there are different opinions. I'm just, I would be really curious to kind of hear more about this. I personally, I would prefer that, if we have like more performant hardware assumptions, then this is great. Yeah, I mean, we can do many cool stuff with this.
So as Will and Chaitanya has shared, so also look at EIP 7870 because I think it would sort of give you.
Yeah, it gives kind of some kind of. I think I look at that. It's just some bandwidth assumptions that we have for today is like 50 megabits something. That's actually what we took for that. Yeah, we took this when we were considering like the bandwidth rates for our simulations. Yeah.
So what I mean to say is that having a minimum hardware, which is a commodity hardware, which is available, I think that is not unreasonable to assume. And basically, the protocol isn't targeting for the lowest rung of hardware that is out there.
Yeah.
So that is what I wanted to say. But I think we can have the discussions, further discussion on this in the Wednesday call regarding this. But for now, I think for the current Devnet3, I think it is manageable.
Yeah. I do keep in mind that these limitations. I mean, what we have in EIP 7870, for example, like if we have just 50 megabits per second bandwidth, yeah, you can calculate like if we have 1,000 validators per subnet, you can calculate like how many data we need to download, and if we have just 50 megabits, that also becomes pretty substantial time for just required to collect the necessary information even before we can start aggregating. Yeah, just very useful. Let's take a look on that. Yeah, sorry, Partha, you also had a question.
Yeah, quick question. I know, I understand if we might not have a response for this now. I was just trying to understand what is the ideal configuration for an aggregator. If I understand correctly, we have most of our servers on Hetzner, and they don't offer M4 or any of the Mac-based hardwares. So is there any recommendation? If so, we might have to request ETH Panda DevOps to provision the machines before Devnet3.
Yeah, I don't think this is a problem unless we actually do start testing networks of size like, I don't know, hundreds of validators. For now, I mean, yeah, in previous DevNets at least, yeah, we just had the network running with just, I don't know, 4, 5, 6 validators most.
Okay, my question was more specific to the configuration for the aggregator machine, because you mentioned 800 signatures aggregated per second. So
yeah, I mean 1,000 signatures per second, but now we don't have like 1,000 signatures. We have just I don't know 4, 5, 6 signatures.
So a commodity hardware is fine. We could just provision an existing server and use it. All right.
For Devnet3 I believe it should be fine unless we actually try to scale it for a lot of machines. Actually, we're actually kind of working on the version of Clean for now, which we use for Shadow, where we can configure the different aggregation rates. So we can actually even simulate the behavior of in network with hundreds of validators.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Great. Yeah, great. So yeah, thanks. That I think was very fruitful discussion. Yeah, unless someone else wants to add anything.
So thanks, Kamil. I think this was very informative and knowledgeable, and I think we sort of have come to the same page regarding that. The video I will basically share and upload it. Maybe Nupur will upload it to the YouTube, and she can just share it. And I think also share the transcript that will be generated, because that's what I edit as well.
Okay, sounds good. Thanks.
Yeah, thanks a lot for your work. Don't hesitate if you have questions.
Yeah, okay. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good rest of your day.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye-bye.